Rizal's Life and Work PP. Pre-colonial Philippines exist.
Spanish era, Japanese era, American era, all this happened in the Philippines and also knowledgeable to all Filipinos, but that pre-colonial that in the Philippines before they came to our country is already existed. In the year 1000 BC, meron nang naninirahan sa bansang Pilipinas at bumubuo ito ng iba't ibang tribo katulad na lamang ng mga Itas, Hanuno, Luanggots, and mga Mangyan. Sila yung mga grupo na dumidepende mabuhay sa nakapaligid sa kanila. Katulad na lamang kung nakatera sila sa isang kagubatan, isa sa paraan para mabuhay ay humanting ng mga hayop. Kung sila naman ay nakatera sa malapit sa karagatan, ang isa sa paraan nila ay ang pangingisda o paghahunting ng mga isda.
During the early period, 1,000 years ago, the early Filipino were composed of different groups that came from different parts of Asia. With different groups, they formed their community, system of education, and religious belief, and we call it Babaylan, which is tradition of women's leadership in the Philippines. Ang Babaylan ay isa itong kilalang female mystical healers whose spiritual connectedness was a source of political and social power. They are the one who listen to the community matters, especially in the matter of their land, violence, and displacement. Bago pa man dumating ang mga Spaniards, meron ng culture ang mga Pilipino, which is hindi o iilan lang ang nakaka-recognize nito. Ang mga Pilipino, merong settlements kung tawagin, ito ay ang barangay. Bago pa man makolonize ang Pilipinas sa mga Spaniards. Noong ang bawat barangay ay binubuo ng 30 to 100 families at ito ay pinamumunuan o mas kinikilalang dato.
What is dato?
Dato is the one who ruled in the barangay. He was executive, legislative, and the judge. The law of barangay was made by the dato, but did you know that in pre-colonial days, people enjoyed the standards of government? The relationship of the ruler and to his subject was very simple back then. In return for his protection, the people paid tribute and serving both in times of war and peace.
Although the dato is technically came from the upper classes, he could be removed from his position by the lower classes. If they found him wanting of his duties, also anyone could become dato, based on merits such as baby wisdom and leadership ability.
Pre-colonial Philippine a nation.
Yes, because before the Spaniards came into the Philippines, there was an existing culture of Filipinos, like the indigenous people. Indigenous people are distinct social and cultural groups that share collective ancestral ties to the lands and natural resources where they live. Although they have a distinct language and beliefs, it can still be called a nation, because a nation is a group of people who are living in the same country, and even though they have a distinct language and beliefs like the indigenous people, they are still born and live in the same country with the other group of people in the Philippines.
Dr. Jose Rizal view in nationalism.
Jose Rizal view in nationalism. Dr. Jose Rizal viewed nationalism as the identity of each one another. He also thinks that nationalism is one's culture, tradition, art, literature, and even faith. He emphasized the importance of the Filipino language, the Tagalog. He also thinks that the love of one's own country and the love of his own countrymen is a nationalism. And lastly, the unity for his country without any violence. I think Rizal sees nationalism as the identity of each one another because we can easily identify on who we are and what we are. Like the traditional sign of respect for elderly, the mano po. When people say mano po, we can categorize it as a Filipino way on showing respect to elderly. He emphasized the importance of the Filipino language because without our own language, we can't be a country or a nation. The love of one's own country and the love of his countrymen. He has a question in it. It says, can we lay down our lives to dedicate ourselves for fighting for our country? And in what ways we became nationalists? In this question, Rizal is really a nationalist himself because he is willing to die just to protect the country and for the freedom of his countrymen. And he wanted to become a nationalist who is not violent because he wanted his country to have a unity to fight the Spain without any violence. And in that, he wanted us Filipino to use our knowledge, virtues, and the writing language to fight Spain for our own freedom.
Dr. Jose Rizal wants to accomplish when he learned about our pre-colonial history.
Here are the things that Dr. Rizal wants to accomplish when he learned about our pre-colonial history. So the first one, as a nationalist, Rizal intended to develop and enrich Filipino culture by demonstrating that Filipinos had an independent culture prior to the arrival of the Spaniards, which he sees as a distinct advantage. So why he sees that as a distinct advantage? Bilang isang nationalist kasi, gusto ni Rizal na parang pagyamanin pa yung pagmamahal natin sa kulturang Filipino. Kasi feeling niya nawala yun during the pre-colonial history and during the colonization ng Spaniards sa ating bansa. And gusto ni Rizal na maibalik yon and mapagyaman pa yung kultura natin in the future. The next one is he also wanted to make all the Filipinos be aware that we are decimated, demoralized, exploited, and ruined by the Spanish civilization or colonization. So, bakit gusto niya na i-aware tayo na we are ruined by the Spaniards' colonization? Kasi, parang hindi binibigyan ng halaga ng mga Filipino yung pagsasakripisyo nila before. So, that's why Rizal wanted to let us all aware or make us all aware that we are once ruined by the Spaniard civilization or what we call colonization. And the last one is he also wanted to recover the pre-colonial past that was erased from the memory of Filipinos by colonization. This includes the destruction of pre-Spanish records and artifacts that could have thrown light on the nature of pre-colonial society. So this sums up the things that Dr. Rizal wanted to accomplish when he learned about our pre-colonial history. So after reading all the related articles about our pre-colonial history, I have realized one thing, and that is his life without history is like living without any further memory. So it is very important to treasure the past and the history that we had. Thank you.